When I say Netherlands, what do you think of? Amsterdam, canals, tulips, bicycles, or of course, hello everybody, this is TKC and welcome to Waffle in It. And I'm going to tell you how the Netherlands came to be. This is the modern map of Europe in 2025. I should add, at the time of recording, how crazy the world is, you never know. And now, long before Eurovision and Champions League football, in 1550, the map of Europe looked like this. The king of this area was the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V. And if you're wondering how he affects the story, well, he died. At that time, Europe was divided between two main religious ideologies, Protestant and Catholic. Charles was a devout Catholic but allowed Protestantism to exist, reluctantly, especially in Eastern Europe. This wasn't generosity, it was strategy. He knew an open war with the Protestants would tear his empire apart, so he tolerated just enough to keep peace. When he died, he split his empire between his son and his brother. His son, Philip II, got Spain and the Low Countries. His brother, Ferdinand, got the Holy Roman Empire, mostly modern day Germany. This map shows what Philip inherited. Now, here's the kicker. Even though Protestant Holland was right next to Ferdinand's lands, it went to Philip, a hardcore Catholic who was having none of this freedom of religion business. Philip decided he was going to crush Protestantism out of the Netherlands. To do that, he sent his half sister, Margaret of Parma, to govern. Her job? Wipe out the heretics. Charming. But there's the thing, not everyone wanted bloodshed. Even before it all exploded, there were people trying to stop the chaos. William of Orange and Count Egmont, two high ranking nobles, actually warned Margaret of Parma that things were getting out of hand. They told her flat out, this repression, it's not gonna work. The people are angry, and if Madrid keeps pushing, there's gonna be a revolt. But their warning fell on deaf ears. Margaret was stuck, loyal to her half brother Philip, but slowly losing control on ground. She tried to ease the pressure just a bit, but Philip wasn't having it. Instead of backing down, he doubled down and sent someone who wouldn't hesitate, someone far worse. Enter the Duke of Alba, Spain's top general and the man whose idea of compromise was public executions. He set up the Council of Troubles, which the Dutch quite accurately renamed Council of Blood or Blood Courts. Thousands were killed, property was seized, and religious freedom completely cancelled. This wasn't just political opponents being targeted. Regular citizens, tradesmen, clergy, teachers, anyone suspected of sympathy towards Protestantism was at risk. One of the first high-profile victims? Lamoral, Count of Egmont, a nobleman who had actually served Spain but spoke for moderation. For that, he and his fellow noble Horn were arrested and publicly beheaded in Brussels in 1568. The Protestant population faced mass prosecution. Churches were burnt, communities raided, entire towns punished for harboring dissent. The Spanish crackdown wasn't just brutal, it was systematic. What started off as suppression of faith quickly became a scorched earth campaign to crush all opposition. And out of that chaos, a leader emerged, William of Orange. Yes, the same orange that explains why Dutch fans look like walking traffic cones during football matches. But here's the twist, he wasn't even Dutch or Protestant. The guy was born in Nassau in modern day Germany and inherited the title Prince of Orange in southern France and was raised Catholic at the Spanish court. In other words, Catholic, German, Spanish court insider. He was everything that the revolt wasn't, until he chose to be. When William saw the brutality unleashed on the Protestants, his own people, he switched sides, not out of ambition, but out of principle. He believed the people of the Netherlands deserved the right to choose their own religion and rule themselves. In 1568, he led a rebellion, and just like that, the 80 Years' War had begun. Think of it as a messy, on again, off again war between the Netherlands and Spain. The Dutch provinces were divided, some Catholic, some Protestant, but the Spanish brutality united them in anger. Religion might have divided them, but resistance brought them together, and nothing unites a population like watching their homes get burnt. In 1572, the rebel group called Gozan captured the port town of Biel. This was huge. It wasn't just symbolic, it gave the rebels a real stronghold. More towns followed, and suddenly Philip's grip on the north was slipping. William didn't have a giant army or a war chest, but he had tactics and floods, literally. The Dutch opened the dikes and flooded the land to stop Spanish troops. You fight with swords, we'll fight with water. Then came 1574, the siege of Leiden. Spanish forces surrounded the city and tried to starve the people into surrender. But the people, they held on. As food ran out, they ate dogs, rats, and even leather belts. Still, they refused to give in. William made a risky call: break the dikes and flood the land again. The Dutch ships sailed through the waterlogged countryside with supplies, and the Spanish were forced to retreat. Imagine flooding your own country to survive. That's how far the Dutch were willing to go. That moment became a national legend, and to this day, Leiden celebrates its liberation on October 3rd. Philip II was furious. William had made him look weak, and worse, inspired resistance across Europe. So in 1580, Philip put a bounty on William's head. Straight up bribery money. 4 years later, a man named Gerard took him up on that offer. He shot William in Delft. William became the first head of state in history to be assassinated by a handgun. His final words: "My God, have mercy on my soul and on these poor people." He died, but he became a martyr. The moment only got stronger. The Dutch were now committed. In 1579, the northern provinces formed the Union of Utrecht, a defensive alliance, and in 1581, they officially declared independence with the Act of Abjuration. Basically, "Dear Philip, you are not our king anymore. Bye." To survive, they needed their friends. Enter Queen Elizabeth I of England, not a big fan of Catholic Spain herself. She sent money, troops, and support to the Dutch rebels. The Dutch revolt was no longer just a local rebellion. It became a proxy war between global empires. The war dragged on for decades, but the Dutch held out. The economy grew, especially in Amsterdam. Trade boomed, refugees brought skills, Dutch ship dominated the seas. From being a war-torn corner in Europe, the Netherlands transformed itself into a commercial powerhouse. And then finally, in 1648, peace. The Treaty of Westphalia ended the war and formally recognized the independence of the Dutch Republic. 80 years. It took generations, but they did it. So next time you see someone in an orange shirt in a football match, remember, it's not just about the color. It's about the rebellion. It's about the stubborn little nation standing up to one of the most powerful empires in the world. It's about William of Orange, a non-Dutch, non-Protestant prince who became the father of free Netherlands. That's it from Awful in It today. If you enjoyed this wild story, hit that like button, drop a comment about your favorite historical underdog, and don't forget to subscribe for more weird and wonderful tales from the past. This is TKC, signing off.